Hello again. Today we're going to work through and walk through the study guide for the first exam. And I want to make sure you know kind of how the sections work and what I'm expecting and kind of what kinds of questions will be there. I'm going to go through a couple of the sections specifically so that you can give me what I'm asking for and get a good grade on the test. Okay. Two things. First of all, one is please don't work together for this. That's cheating. It's really the only time I'm like, no, don't ask your friends. Make sure that you are doing what you're asked to do, that you're not sharing your work, and that you're not getting your work from anywhere but your own little brain, and the book and your notes and the study guide and that kind of stuff. Now, I will tell you the study guide is pretty much my contract with you. These things might be on the test, okay? If there's something in the chapter that's not on the study guide, it won't be on the test, okay? So they are lockstep together here. There are a couple of things that I do differently from most of your professors and such. The study guide practice, which is at the very end of the study guide, is a series of questions that's what your homework is based on. Your homework points for this are based on. Basically because these are the hardest types of questions on the test, and I want to give you some practice, okay? The rest of the study guide, which is also good to kind of walk through and do, if you write out things, type out things, however you want to say it, and turn them in with your practice questions, you can get extra credit, up to 5 points, okay? Most of the time, my extra credit is 10%, so 2 points. But for the study guide, you can potentially do a lot of work for that study guide, and so I want to give you credit for those things. Okay. We start off with a matching section. There are 20 vocabulary words. They're taken from the keywords at the end of the book. They are 2 points each. The matching, what I did on the study guide is just give you the terms. You can go look up their definitions, have the glossary of the book open for that, have the glossary of the book open for that. We're going to get to that in a minute too. So you have the 20 that will be there. All 20 of these are on the test. So for the big words, which is the first section, I don't know why I flipped that, on the study guide, you have, I believe, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. You have 8 big words. So critical thinking, argument, statement, logic, evidence, worldview, deductive argument, inductive argument. Those you're going to have to write out the definitions for. Use your glossary in the book, or take them from my chapter notes. Do not ask Google, because I'll give you the wrong answers. So make sure that you're getting those directly from the book. The glossary works best. The glossary, if you go on the table of contents and go all the way down to the bottom, it's like the next to last thing. There's a glossary and then there's an index. Use the glossary. Okay. The rest of this is short answers. They take anywhere from 5 to 10 points, depending upon how detailed the answer needs to be or how much work you have to do for the answer. And then there are 2 what I call mini essays, 2 paragraphs each. You have a list of things you can choose from, and you get to pick. Okay, I'm not going to pick for you. You get to pick 1 from each list. Okay, no, you cannot do extras from the list for extra credit. That's not how that works. Okay, just do a good job. Okay. I have in here, on this one, and I might use it on the other ones, different types of questions and how they kind of parse out as far as, okay. So we have how questions. Oh, sorry, let me start beginning. What questions? What questions? Short answers to these questions are mostly from the book and lectures. And then there's a list of those kind of questions. Things like, what does W.K. Clifford think about accepting claims without good reasons? What does Francis Bacon say is the reasons why people make so many mistakes in thinking? What's our 4-part process? What's the 3-step process? What's the 5-step process? Okay, when questions. Short answers to these questions, mostly from the books and lectures, but with a personal example. When can you honestly say your beliefs are yours? Okay. Yes, there's a piece in the book in chapter 1 that tells you when you can do that. Okay. Why questions are short answers, of course, mostly from the book, but with a personal example, much like the when. And the how questions are short answers derived from what you've learned in these chapters. These are more synthesis kind of questions. Explain how this works. How do we do this? Explain, or list and explain sometimes ends up being how, okay? Then I have a little section for this particular test where we're going to look at the structural relationships, and I want you to label them, okay? So put your P's and Q's and R's in. That's all I want, P's and Q's and R's. So you can put them in little parentheses, you can put them at the end, if P then Q, if, you know, that kind of stuff. So I don't care either way. And then there's one that D should give you a little bit of and then I want you to come up with your own examples, not mine, not Dr. Vaughn's from the book, your own examples. You get 0 points if you use one that's in the book or that I put up on the board. Okay, your argument, your examples for modus ponens, modus tollens, disjunctive syllogism, and a hypothetical syllogism. Just one of each with labels, so P's and Q's and R's. And then the mini essays, I want 2 real paragraphs. I don't want bullet points or phrases or whatever. I want you to put this in a paragraph, okay? Actually, 2 paragraphs. Give a 2-paragraph defense for one of these statements. Make sure your argument has at least 2 reasonable premises and 1 aspect of counter-argument. Counter-argument is that some people might think that, but, okay. So there are 5, and some of these are fairly, well, I think they're all pretty inflammatory. Pick one that's not going to keep you up at night, okay? The U.S. government should be allowed to execute American citizens abroad who have been identified as terrorists. ChatGPT should be banned from all college classrooms and assignments. The Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution should be rescinded. The U.S. should annex Greenland. The police and other security officers should use racial profiling to prevent terrorist attacks. Okay, and when I say make a defense, that means you have to show how this is right. Okay, your conclusion is what's here, so make it correct. The second one is to choose one of the topics in 2.3, which is the toughest mental obstacles. Define it in your own words. Give a new example, again, not from the lecture or the book, and explain how you might fix it as well. Okay? This is things like confirmation bias, availability error, that kind of stuff. How do we avoid that? How do we, not fall prey to that? Weird. And so your study guide 1, practice questions for your 20 points of homework credit. These are 4 questions from chapter 3, integrated exercises, integrated questions. And the directions give you 7 things you need to do. And you need to do all 7 parts for each question, and I've given you 4 of them, 4, 8, 12, and 20. So they all contain an argument, so you're not off the hook for any of them. Okay? The test is 10% of your overall grade. I think it has about 250 points, give or take. I haven't actually done that math yet, but I think that's about right. It's a lot. It's a lot because it's online, you're not timed, It's basically playing with a paper test, and you can do it one of two ways. You can either type it all, download the test, type it all in, save it with your name on it. That way you know you've saved it as a new document, and then post it. Now you can, if you're like me, I like to write things down by hand. I have two different formats of the test up there, and one is just normal, and the other one is for handwritten responses, or handwritten answers. I forget what I put. If you're going to handwrite, choose that one because I've given you lines. Okay, print it out, write it in. Either take pictures and do the JPG thing, or scan it in, save the document, whatever. I'm good for either. I don't care either way. I have ways of fixing things so I can grade them. But just make sure that you're saving the document with a new name, preferably your name, exam 1. That way I know whose is whose when I'm looking at grading things. So the other thing, there was something else. Make sure you save it. Oh, if you're not going to handwrite, don't choose the one for handwriting. Okay, choose the one that just says exam 1 POCT 8, Power Critical Thinking 8th edition. Okay, and use that. You can type as much as you need to. Everything will move for you. It's all good. I know the numbering can get a little bit odd. Don't stress. Okay, if you have 3 number 17s, but they are different things, I'll deal. Okay, I grade by what's on the page, not necessarily the numbers. Okay, so do your best. This is open note, open book, everything in your little brain, but nobody else's. Okay, please do your work with integrity. I'm counting on you to do your work with integrity. If you don't do your work with integrity, you may get away with it for a little bit, but it'll come back and bite you. Always does. Okay, one way or the other. So just do what you're supposed to do. Now, there are a couple things on here. You'd be amazed. Answer all the parts of the question. Read the question. Think in your head, okay, I'm being asked to do this with this information. Okay, follow the directions. If it says 2 paragraphs and you give me a list, you might get some credit for it, but not all. Same thing for the big words. Make sure that it is the glossary definition, period. End of story. Don't get creative. That's not the time. The first 2 sections are 40 points each. Like I said, it's about 250, so you can't really pass by just doing those. Make your best stab at things. A lot of this is going to be, okay, find where you have this in your notes, copy and paste. Not a big deal, okay? Some of it, though, is going to ask you, okay, you know this 4-step process, okay? Now, take that 4-step process and apply it to this particular argument. Follow the directions, okay? The 4-step process, you have the premises and conclusions. Is it deductive? No. Is it inductive? Probably. Is it good argument? Yes. Okay, so put it together. Or you're also asked to diagram this particular argument. Okay, so what do you have to do? Go through the 5 steps. Don't just give me 1, 2, 3 in a bunch of arrows. Not getting any points for that. Okay, do the work. Give yourself time. The study guide is due on Tuesday. The exam is due on Thursday. So I will do my best to get in there and preempt anything that's going wrong. But you know how it goes. Okay. So work through. If you have questions, I can't find this in the text. I don't know where this is. First of all, look in the index. I told you the glossary was next to last. Well, the index is last. The index is terms in alphabetical order, and then it gives you page numbers where you can find them. Okay, so if the term you're looking for is on page 17 and 432, just look at page 17, because that's where we are. Okay, I hope that will be helpful for you. I hope that this will be a good experience. I know it's a test. We all freak out about tests, but you have all the information you need. You can do this. You need to take your time and make sure you finish well. Okay? Okay, so if you have questions, you know how to get a hold of me. You have my email.